What's up, everybody? My name is Brian Brinley. I am your host. This is the Games We Play podcast, episode 11, and I am really excited for this episode. We got quite a few interesting topics that I want to delve into, and the first one, we'll just get started right away. The first one we're going to delve into is that apparently the Antonio Brown buzz to get back into the NFL, to be on a roster, is kind of reaching, I don't want to say a fever pitch because we're not hearing anything about contracts yet, but it's starting to get really interesting. Obviously, there is that reporting from a few days ago that says that the Seahawks and the Ravens are at play. And I think that's interesting because I think that him added to both of those rosters would work for him, and I think it would work for the roster he's being added to. Deshaun Watson obviously had his tweet where he was talking about he didn't talk about it. He just tweeted that picture, I think, in response to somebody talking about Antonio Brown being on the Texans, which makes a lot of sense. He just lost who I believe is the best receiver in the NFL in DeAndre Hopkins. It sounded like I said DeAndre there. DeAndre, what an interesting. Anyways, that's besides the point, ladies and gentlemen. But as many of you probably know, I personally am a Seattle Seahawks fan. So what does the Antonio Brown to Seattle Seahawks thing look like for me? I've been advocating for it since last year. And there's a few reasons why. Ever since Russell Wilson has entered the NFL, listen, they've had guys. They had Doug Baldwin, they had Jermaine Kearse, now they have Tyler Lockett. They've had guys that I like. I really have liked some of their receivers that they had, but until last year when Tyler Lockett kind of started to separate himself as the number one receiver, but that's just because the chemistry that he has with Russell Wilson is on this level that I think is really high and I think is really interesting because they play into each other's strengths and weaknesses, actually. But if you put Tyler Lockett on other rosters, I don't know if he's a true number one with other people. I think he works specifically with Russell Wilson, but with Antonio Brown, you are getting a true and blue number one receiver with him. And I think that would be incredible to watch Tyler Lockett with his speed and his slipperiness as a deep threat, and Antonio Brown with his just crisp, absolutely insanely beautiful route running and just hard work and dedication. I think that would be an incredibly awesome addition to that roster. I would love watching it. And I get it. Antonio Brown, he had more than his fair share of slip-ups. I have been hesitant to advocate for his return to the NFL, even on my team, especially because that reflects on me, I think, as a media figure and also as just, somebody that's a fan of a team. And he is, I don't want to say he's crazy because I think that's kind of in poor taste just to call him crazy. He's done some things that are crazy, but I don't think that he himself is crazy. It seems like he has at least tried to make somewhat of a genuine effort from the outside looking in. Obviously, I can't peek into the man's brain and into his heart, but from the outside looking in, it looks like he's made a genuine effort to stay active, to stay in shape, and to kind of clean up his image at the very least, or get his actions under control. And even if he still has slip-ups every now and again, and listen, he clearly has a personality that is not easy to handle necessarily. But if I was putting dollars to donuts, if I was just, all my money has to go on the line and I have to pick a coach that can possibly work with this man, there's nobody I'm going with over Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has dealt with egos. He's dealt with not insane, but just like really out there players, very expressive players. He doesn't seem to have a problem with it. He figures out a way to mesh clashing personalities and even get people that don't seem to work in the NFL or on an NFL roster to work wonders for him. And mainly that's on defense. I'll give you that. But I mean, and if anybody can have that kind of influence, and I think that Antonio Brown also knows that, hey, if he gets on a roster and he screws up again, it's donezo for everybody. I don't think there's going to be anybody that advocates for a third chance for this guy. So I would say that they have got to go after him. I mean, let's just look at what you actually get with him. In 2018, his last full season, so he played a game with the Patriots last season, obviously, before that all fell apart. But 2018, 104 receptions, 1,297 yards, and 15 touchdowns. That is ridiculous. And keep in mind, that's contextually, keep in mind the context of that with his 2011 to 2018, like God level tier run. 74 touchdowns, 11,000 yards from 2011 to 2018. That is ridiculous. I don't know. Listen, I get it. He is a chance. You're taking a chance. You are honest to God. You are risking a lot when you put him on your roster. You're risking chemistry issues within the team. You are risking money in case he goes AWOL again and it's just a sink and it's better to cut him off the roster. But I think if you are the Seattle Seahawks, you need to go after Antonio Brown. I would say that whether I was a fan of the team or whether I was looking at it completely objectively, I think that this is a risk that is worth taking specifically based on Pete Carroll's coaching history and his style of coaching and the types of players that he gets to work. And Seattle really would benefit from having a true blue, bona fide number one receiver on any roster basically in the NFL with Antonio Brown. I hope that they do it. I would be pretty pleased if they did go through with it. And I'm going to take a short break really quick and get some water. But when we come back, I'm going to delve into what I think is one of the sadder stories of sports this year. And there have been a few because of everything going on. But I'm going to get into what I think is one of the less talked about sad stories in sports. And it's interesting because it surrounds a gigantic figure in it. I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. And I teased it before going into the break, but I said it was a gigantic figure in sports that I feel incredibly sorry for, and I think it's a disappointing and sad storyline this year. And that person is the one and only LeBron James. So let's just talk about how I feel incredibly bad for LeBron this year. Let's start with The Last Dance. The LeBron Jordan debate is a staple of the American sports talk show. It is the old faithful. If there is nothing else going on in the world, get somebody in the media to say something about Jordan or LeBron, and then First Take and Jim Rome and Cowherd and Skip and Shannon, they're all going to talk about it. They're all going to delve into LeBron versus Jordan, and it will never, ever, ever end because there's no way to definitively say if one is truly better than the other or not. But then The Last Dance comes out. Think about the timing of The Last Dance really quick. In the middle of a pandemic, there is no basketball going on when it should be going on. LeBron's Lakers were hot. A lot of people were really starting to get the ball rolling with them and really start to side with them going down the stretch, the home stretch of the NBA regular season. And then all of a sudden, everything stops. LeBron is on Twitter and on Instagram, still a presence, obviously. But now this documentary comes out from the guy that he is chasing. He has been chasing his entire life. He wants to be the greatest basketball player of all time. And the consensus pick before he started playing in the pros is that was Michael Jordan. And now this documentary comes out that is a 10-part documentary of unseen footage from one of the most famous historic basketball dynasties led by Michael Jordan, and it's just person on top of person, media figures, athletes, celebrities, all talking about how amazing Michael Jordan was and just revealing things to the public, really talking about like what could have even been with everything that went on with the Bulls and how that all fell apart and what could have even been further, which gave the Jordan defenders and the Jordan bigger uppers, it gave them just even more ammunition. There's just this footage of him doing crazy things and him being this crazy leader, this cutthroat dog, this incredible scorer, this offense unto himself. And there's really no way for LeBron to respond in basketball form. The country is starved for sports. We've been starved for sports. And here comes this 10-part documentary about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. It comes early. It's almost presented like it's a gift. ESPN and 30 for 30 Films they've given us this beautiful gift. And it was awesome. I loved what I saw of The Last Dance. I didn't watch all of it because at the time I had a job, and a 10-part documentary series is a lot to ask. I don't even think I ever made it through the OJ one, but go on. All I had to do was go on Twitter, and I could see the impact that it was having. You were seeing this love and appreciation for this athlete, this person that is LeBron James, his biggest competition outside of actually playing somebody. And let alone on top of the tragic death of Kobe Bryant causing even more debate, because in modern days, seemingly it seems to be there are people that think that Kobe was the best. There's people who think that Jordan was the best. There's people who think that LeBron was the best. Now, I personally don't want to necessarily get completely into it because I don't want to delve down the path of the Jordan and LeBron debate, because that's not what the segment's about. We have more to get to with LeBron. But in both of those events, Kobe's death and then the subsequent, and rightfully deserved because of how important of a figure he was in basketball, the kind of reverence that people are showing towards him and the tributes being paid toward Kobe, on top of LeBron being on the Lakers and then people criticizing how he was even reacting to the death of Kobe Bryant. And what are you supposed to do? So that was actually first. I said first we'll start with The Last Dance. We started with that, but timeline, chronologically, the Kobe thing was first. And then The Last Dance comes up. And then now we're going to move on to this shortened NBA season where here is the really, really bad part for LeBron. Let's say the Lakers win the title. How many people have you heard say that it's almost like a not real championship? It's a half measure in a way. There are people that obviously are looking at it and saying, listen, there's literally no way that anybody could have changed this. It's not the player's fault, so it shouldn't count against them. But let's be really honest. In the future, are people going to look at a shortened season like this and say that this championship means as much as other ones? I would say probably not. Even for me, I'd say I don't want to say asterisk because I don't like the idea of having an asterisk on a championship. At the end of the day, with the situation you were given, you took your team to the level that you needed to take them to, and you won the championship. You were the best of that group. You played the best, at least at the time. But it's a shortened season. It's in a bubble. They've had this long period of rest that is not common in an NBA season. And now you have players just electing not to play, or people are going to catch COVID. Oh, there goes monetization if I even had it on this video. And you're going to just have inferior rosters probably. There might be inferior basketball being played because some people, I'm sure, have been working every day, day in and day out. But there's some players that might have slacked off a little bit because they got a little mini vacation that they don't usually get. And so if he wins, it's almost like it's a diminished title because of the situation. And if he loses, people are looking at this as a diminished opportunity anyway, and then people are going to say, oh, you couldn't even win the half measure championship because of COVID. I already lost the monetization on this anyway. So if you win, you get the title, but people are going to say it doesn't count as much as another title. And if you lose, people are going to say he couldn't even win on a skeleton playoff. And this is not even factoring in if they even finish, because there is still a possibility that it's not even going to happen. And there's a possibility that they don't even get to finish the season. And LeBron is in year 17, I believe. He's running out of time. Now, I know that he just is this physical freak. He is a specimen. He is just this figure that I cannot believe the athleticism, the intelligence, just the entire basketball aura around LeBron is insane to me that he is playing at this level in year 17. It's ridiculous. But at some point, he is going to diminish in his capability as an athlete. It just happens with age. And for this to happen in such a crucial year where people really think that he has a chance to win the title and he's getting toward those latter years of his career, it's really just unfortunate. And I feel really bad. And it makes me think about how I've thought about LeBron over the years. I used to buy into a lot of the LeBron hate because I was honestly just uninformed on basketball in general, and the people in the media and the people around me that I thought at least had a better clue than I did would always tell me how LeBron was a crybaby. He would never be as good as Jordan. He was like this diva drama queen. But then when you really watch like the things that people knock him for, especially this year has just really illuminated that for me in a really like significant sense. The things that people criticize this man for are ridiculous. At what point can I legitimately wonder if some of the people that are these like ardent LeBron haters would literally not criticize anything about him. The only thing that seems to consistently reap praise from other people on with LeBron James is his social activism, which I think is incredible. Obviously, I think it's hard to argue against that. But like, what are you supposed to do if you're criticizing LeBron James for how he is reacting? While he was sitting at remember Kobe's funeral when the memorial thing at Staples where people were like, "Oh, you didn't make yourself like available and like you didn't." What do you want? Do you want him to take center stage? And then people are going to be like, oh, he's trying to steal the spotlight. Or if he is not center stage, oh, you don't have enough respect for him. Like, what is he supposed to do? It's really frustrating. And I'm not even one of these people that is just in love with LeBron James and love everything that he does and everything that he is. But at the end of the day, like, you have to just look at some of the things that people say and criticize this man for. And at what point does it stop? I really don't know. And I wonder how history is going to look back on not only on those people, but those arguments against LeBron. I don't think they're going to age well. I think that with time, we're kind of going to realize that, yeah, some of that stuff was pretty ridiculous. And it actually makes you look really biased. And it just is not a good look for those people. Now, that was a really long segment. I didn't mean for it to go on that long, but I actually got kind of invested into the argument. But I mean, that makes for better content, I think. So when we come back, I'm going to take another short break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about, how do I say this? The renaming that's going on in sports with team names. We're going to dive into it a little bit, and I'm going to give my thoughts when I come back. And we are back. All right, so let's just dive into it. The Washington football team is basically like, at this point, does anybody really doubt if they're going to change their name? Listen, I'm just going to give my very quick thoughts on this because this is a very contentious topic. I understand that there are many perspectives that come into this issue, but for me, why is this a controversial move? The name is literally a racial slur. And if you don't believe me, the next time that you see somebody that is Native American, call them that to their face and see how that works out for you. If you just legit don't think that there's any sort of offensive nature to the term and you think it's honoring them, that's the other thing that really is just like ridiculous. It's honoring them. You couldn't pick even a better word. Let's just cut out the argument that a race of people probably should not be a team name. That just seems weird to me. You don't see the Green Bay white people, or if you're going to go with the slur, the Green Bay Crackers. That's actually pretty close to Packers, but it wouldn't work, right? It's just weird. And it's a team name. It's a team name. We made up football. We made up the Washington team. So why can't we just rename it? It doesn't make any sense. I get it. I get it. You have this gear. You have this merchandise. You have jerseys. You have flags. What am I supposed to do with them? I don't know. Replace them? And if you can't replace them, then just keep them in your house and you could still have them. But like, shouldn't we try just because we have something? Like, that is that's the strangest perspective to me, that we can't change something just because it's been this way. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We can't change this because that's how it's been. What are you talking about? Of course you can. That's how you keep it from being that way. That doesn't make any sense. Was that the argument for the San Diego Chargers moving to LA? No, we can't move to LA because they've been in San Diego. We can't change that. Well, clearly somebody caused it to change. And here's where we get into why it actually changed. This did not change because of a activism message from a group of people uprising. This changed because corporations and businessmen decided to make it change. Nike pulled down the merchandise for the team on their site, and FedEx pressured the team. I don't want to say the name of the team because, you know, I've always tried not to say the name as much as I can because it's like, I just don't like saying it. It feels weird saying it when it got pointed out to me. I can't remember the first time it really got pointed out to me how messed up it was, but once it did, it's like, yeah, that is kind of messed up. And you'll hear people in the media say like the Washington team, but then I always like have this sort of like, you want to call the team by their name, but which is why they just, you know, probably needs to change. And obviously, as you can probably tell, I'm on the side of changing it. I don't really care. They're terrible anyway. Who really talks that much about that team anyway? When was the last time that they were really like, besides this, when is the last time that anybody really, really, really cared in a big sense about this team? And now there are people that are just on the front line dying for the honor of the Washington football team that I have, I don't know, never met a fan of in my entire life. So here's the thing. If you change the name, the 13 people that have to replace their merchandise, I'm sorry. I know it's not only 13 people. And I do know one fan of the team, one Kevin Durant. So there you go. And then obviously the Cleveland Indians may also change their name. I say that one because it's not necessarily, it's the wrong term, which I mean like is wild. That first off, it is absolutely wild that the Chief Wahoo logo for the Indians was just a thing that we just kind of ignored for a while. And then the Indians like kind of started to phase it out. I mean, it's still there, but like they tried to like downplay it. And I think I saw that Terry Francona is actually for the name change, who is currently the manager of the team. I do wonder though if this is actually going to happen because it kind of got thrust into their lap because of the Redskins decision. I said it. Oh, well, I said it. There you go. But I wonder if it's actually going to happen because this kind of got thrown into their lap because of what happened with the Washington football team. But baseball tends to be a little slower than others, especially in the modern day when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we will see. Obviously, they've taken some major steps. The Boston Red Sox obviously released that, I think, really powerful statement about Fenway Park and the instance of racism there. And so I wonder if Cleveland will actually kind of follow up on this and try to take this, you know, grab the bull by the horns and deal with the problem before they kind of look bad because let's say Washington's football team does change their name, but then Cleveland doesn't change their baseball team's name. It might just read as a bad PR look for them if they're not careful about how they handle this. But at the end of the day, I really do wonder if they're going to be able to make that change. We'll see. Obviously, we can hope. And I would actually like to, for engagement on this, I would actually like to see what names that you guys would suggest as replacements for the two franchises. If you had a shot at it, maybe it's something to actually do with the cities that they're located in. Maybe it factors into the theme. I think that what DC should do, for example, because the Washington football team is in that area, and they're really the only team that doesn't like factor into like the patriotic kind of thing, you know, the Washington Nationals, the Capitals, DC United. I think that they should change it to kind of like that sort of theme, because it'd be kind of cool for the whole city to have this kind of theme within their teams together. But, suggest your comments, suggest your names down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys on that. And I also would like to hear what you think about this in general, this issue. Do you disagree with me? Do you think that it's, it really is hard to deal with as a fan of a franchise for them to change a name, even if that name is problematic? Or, listen, I don't understand that perspective. I have not seen an argument for that resonates with me, but, I am, I do want to at least try to understand somebody else. I don't agree with you, and I think you're wrong, but I'd like to get if there is a better argument than how I'm making it sound. I would like to see if somebody can present me with that below. I'm going to take one last break before we go into our last topic, which I'm really excited, and it's going to be about the replacement fighter that is going to fight Kamaru Usman in the upcoming UFC event. Okay, and we are back again in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's get into our final topic of the day, and that is that Kamaru Usman is going to fight Jorge Masvidal. This is incredible. Let's start with the sad part. Kamaru Usman was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns, and he unfortunately tested positive for, well, I already talked about how I already lost it on this, for COVID ahead of their match. The UFC found a new opponent, and yep, it's Jorge Masvidal. That's awesome. This is an incredible fight. And talk about making the best of a bad situation. It seemed so disappointing when we got that news, and I'm sure the UFC was panicking. And this is awesome. This is an A-list super fight. This is going to be one that a lot of people are chomping at the bit to watch. I know that I'm incredibly excited to watch this fight. I know that the people around me that are UFC fans are also incredibly excited for this fight. Gilbert Burns, I liked his response on Twitter. He basically went with the, everything happens for a reason. This is all part of God's plan. It's not my time right now, but it will be. So I'm glad that this didn't, turn into bitterness for him, at least publicly, because, it's unfortunate. And it shows that we, as sports fans and people in sports, the athletes themselves, are being affected by what's going on in the world. And, it's not his fault. So I hope he doesn't feel bad. I hope he isn't disappointed necessarily in what he did, because I hope at least it's not his fault, or he doesn't feel that way. I do wonder, though, about the quality of the fight, because this is a quick turnaround. Deal got done pretty quickly, and it's obviously on short notice. But we'll see how it pulls together. I really am excited. I think that Masvidal has probably been training heavily, because I'm sure that he just wants to fight, because that's who he is. And Kamaru Usman, they're both beasts, man. This is going to be such a fun fight to watch play out. In fact, let's pull up and see the betting odds. Let's see. Vegas odds for Kamaru Usman, or for Usman, not Covington. Let's see what Vegas opens up at. Let's see. According to bestfightodds.com, the current odds see Usman as a -320 betting favorite. So Usman is the favorite. Ooh, an update on it. Let's see. After Usman defeated Colby Covington via 5th round TKO, odds makers released a line for Usman Masvidal. Opening betting odds where Usman is a -260. Yeah, -320 betting favorite, which kind of makes sense, because Masvidal is taking the fight on short notice, and Usman was already favored, so it just widens the gap between them. So I don't really have much to break down about this fight, because this was pretty recent breaking news when I was preparing for the show today, but I am incredibly excited. I can't wait to see how this plays out. And that's another thing. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win. Why do you think they're going to win? I would love to see your guys' perspective on that. And with that, that is going to be the end of this episode of the Games We Play podcast. Do me a favor, if you liked it, go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe to this channel, and share it with your friends. See what they think. Get into some conversation with them and bring them in here. Give me some engagement. Show me in the comments. What do you like? What do you dislike? What did you think about any topics? I know I opened the floor for you guys on topic 3 and 4, but topic 1 and 2, open it. Do you think that LeBron doesn't deserve any sort of pity? What do you think about LeBron versus Jordan? You can have your debate in the comments. I'm not going to have it on here. That'll probably be for a different show. Wink, wink, at some point in the future. But any topic, and also suggest topics in the comments down below as well. Let me know what you think I should talk about in future. And until that future episode, I have been Brian Brindley. This has been the Games We Play podcast, episode 11, and I will see you next time.